guys, welcome to Jammin and Jammies. I'm Megan Barker. We are sitting down with some of our favorite music creators, industry leaders, and we're going to find out how they got where they are, get some valuable insights into the music world, entertainment world. You can watch the interviews online or tune into the podcast. Check out jamminandjamies.com for all the details. Today, I'm so excited to be sitting down with my friend, more friends now, Scott Frenzel. You might recognize Scott because he is a TikTok and social media superstar and all-around influencer. We're going to talk about all the things he's been blowing up the last couple years. So let's welcome him. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Hi, Megan. I'm so happy to be here. Superstar. Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, adding that to the resume.
It's like after you start hitting using the word million, I feel like you've earned it.
Listen, you're so right. You're so right. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that.
Lean into it. Yes.
I guess if you say so.
Okay, start at the beginning, please. Just like, where are you from? And were you always creative, a creative genius superstar?
Oh my God. Not my friends and I we literally are like, gas prices are so high and we just gas each other up left and right. We're like, we'll literally be on audio. I audio message. Spoiler alert. I love the former Jammin and Jammies alum at Hollyana.
Yes.
And we voice memo like it's nobody's business. And it's literally like,
do
you ever think about how we're creative visionaries? So if those audio messages leak, we're over.
Oh my gosh.
It's just it's mostly
good
just
thing.
cringe.
Good thing they mostly delete after.
I know.
I think mine's saved now, but yeah, they're supposed to.
That's when you're like, okay, like don't save this, and then you see that they kept it, and you're
like, how dare you?
How could you? But sometimes I have to keep them because they're so good. But anyway, my name's Scott Frenzel. I do nostalgic throwback comedy, life and college tips on. I started on TikTok.com, but now everybody's kind of catching up to having their own short form. And listen, I'm not the most loyal. I'll post it anywhere you'll let me post it. You're gonna give me the views. You're gonna pay me a little cash. I'll post it. It's on your platform. So I started on TikTok. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, not too far, just a little up north.
My mom's from Sandusky, so like Cedar Point all the way.
Listen, I never went to Cedar Point because I was Teen Kings Island.
Okay.
So lame.
I've never been there. Fair enough.
It's good, but it was like 20 minutes away. I thought that everyone just had an amusement park that close growing up. I was like...
Same, because I grew up here when I was really young and we had Opryland. So I just thought everyone had a theme park. You know,
spoiler alert, I spent 4 years in Nashville. I never went to Dollywood.
I've never been to Dollywood. Wow, we were spilling all the tea.
Literally the headlines that are about to come out of this.
Sorry.
Oh my God. I feel like it's one of those things that when you live there, you're like, oh, I could do this anytime.
Yeah.
And then you just never end up doing it.
Also, like, poor musician. Like, I just haven't done it yet, but I will.
Right.
This year,
okay.
I'm going.
When was the last time you went to Pancake Pantry?
I went this year after COVID.
But you were gonna be like this week.
I think I'm going right now. I'm literally on my way there.
I'm actually in line right now.
I'm in line right now. I think I've only been twice. We are all over the place, by the way. This is going to be so much fun. So you're from Cincinnati.
I'm from Cincinnati. I grew up in Cincinnati. Was I out of the womb a creative visionary? I have to look at the tapes, the VHS tapes, but I don't have a VHS player, so it's hard to say. Okay. But I was always very imaginative growing up. Like I would have my little stuffed animals, and they would have they each had a personality, and I would do like little, not like plays, but I would just have like adventures that they would go on in my head. And I didn't realize that like maybe that wasn't like everybody wasn't doing that. Like a lot of people were, but a lot of people weren't. I just thought that was like how you played
normal, because that's what I did too.
There's all these like little tidbits that you remember back and you're like, oh yeah, I was like very creative growing up.
And like all of my animals had to be included because I didn't want anybody to feel left out. Empath vibes all the way.
Listen, because they knew if I left them out. Did you like have all your stuffed animals in your bed because you were like, if one of them is not, I don't want anyone to feel left out.
Yes.
That is literally the most absolute. Yeah. Yep.
We need therapy. It's fine.
We should have been in therapy a lot earlier is what we're hearing from this. So I grew up in Cincinnati. I actually was not involved in music or anything too much until a little bit later, until like high school. Just I think growing up in like suburban Ohio, I think there were like very strict gender roles, and I think I was a victim of that. Mm-hmm. Where it was like I played like basketball and baseball, which was fun. Like I was in the 5th grade. Like I wasn't ready to like write a sonata.
Right.
But but I did like have a little interest in music, and that wasn't really something I was encouraged to do, unfortunately, until a little bit later. So I was in high school, and I was like, oh, you know what? Oh my God, everyone's asking me to join the choir. I guess I can join the choir. And I sent my little voice teacher was like, you sounded like you could not hit a note. Like it was honestly impressive how far you were from each and every note that you were trying to sing, like 0%.
Oh my God.
Right. But I kept with it and I had fun. And then I got better and better. And then I started to do private lessons and it went from there. But I did feel a little behind. And so, and then I got into the theater world a little bit in high school too, which was so fun. And I was so blessed. I had a really great theater director, and that it's crazy how like, I'm going to sound so cheesy, but like a really good teacher really can, I don't want to be like change your life.
No, but really, like cheese me up, because yes.
Like they can really spark an interest in you that like you didn't realize that you had, or that like, or just like building this foundation for you that like sets you off to like,
100%
to explore. And I think it's like, when you're a kid, you don't really have like, how many people do you really have in your life that are like doing all these different things? Like you have your parents, you might have like a couple like, oh, this is mom and dad's friend, Rebecca, and he's a carpenter. Like you don't really have that many people to look up to. And so I think it's cool in like high school when you kind of do get like my theater teacher she was on Broadway. And then she came back when she like was raising a family to Cincinnati. And so she was in the theater teacher at our high school, and just like having that level of talent was just really set me up for success. So that was cool. And then I was like, okay, it's time. I want to be a music star. So I said, where do you go if you want to do music? Belmont University. Duh. Duh. So I spent 4 years there, which was so fun. Learned so much about myself, learned so much about music and the music world and entertainment. And I think Nashville is such a good place to learn the entertainment industry, because it's a little bit more approachable and accessible. It's kind of like in a nice package where I think it's really easy to get lost in an LA, New York. But Nashville is so like, you join like the Young Songwriters Association, like all of these things are very accessible. Which I don't always feel they are that way. I've never been in New York.
Small town. It's a community.
It is. It's the big small town.
Yeah.
But it's like it's definitely like approachable to get involved, which is so good. And like play a little writer's round, like do all that kind of stuff, and like get your feet wet and get bigger and bigger with it. So I love Nashville. And then I did a little internship in college out here in LA doing social media, which I always had a big interest in. And then after college, I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I packed up my little Honda Civic and I drove out to LA in a little sublease for 2.5 months. And I'm very grateful for people that were like, oh, you don't have a job yet? Like, if you want to like, just like pay cheap rent at my house, it's fine. And like, and no one's self-made. Like everyone has somebody that has definitely helped them, on their journey. So that was definitely me. And then I was working at a restaurant in LA. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, okay, you're here. You've been here for like 1.5 years. You haven't really like done anything entertainment. And it was like, everyone's talking about TikTok. You have all the time in the world now. The unemployment check is coming in. Right. So if you're going to do it, do it. And so I just downloaded TikTok. I was like, I had like a little Instagram following. I was relying on my looks, not my,
as you should,
not my comedy chops. So I downloaded TikTok and then just started like posting, a couple videos. And I think the beginning of any social media platform, but especially TikTok, if you want to get into it algorithmically, like just putting stuff out there, because we're all very multifaceted people, right? We all have like very different interests. I don't know, you could have like a secret cat account of like you're like, every striped cat that I find, I take a picture and I put it on the internet.
How did you know?
Or like Lord's onion ring account. Did you hear about that?
No.
Lord the Lord,
These
the
Lord,
singer,
our Lord.
our Lord, our Lord with an E at the end. She had a secret onion ring account where she would like review onion rings. Yeah, crazy.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Yeah, but you kind of figure out okay, how do I take this part of myself, this thing that I enjoy, and kind of, boil it down into a way that's very approachable for social media. And I think the start of any, especially with how the new algorithms work, where they're delivering, it's less based on like who you're following and more based on what you subconsciously enjoy watching, which is a little bit scary, but like,
Yes.
listen, it works. It's working.
True.
It's like they know what you want to watch more than you do, which is kind of weird, but
So accurate.
so accurate. But it just kind of became a little experimentation game. And then the one that I did that I was so excited about, it was called Fan Groups I'm Most Afraid of. And so it was taking a little bit of my music knowledge and then just talking about like stan culture and like pop star stan
Yes.
culture. And so I just was making jokes about like, oh, the Selenators, they could probably like leak my credit card information because they've made like average
Yeah.
music go to #1, but I could probably like lock the card before anyone could spend any money on it. And then like the K-pop
Hilarious.
stans could like wipe my existence from the planet, and they're more organized than like island nations and the CIA combined, like very that. So I just like put that out there. And then I mean, it hit maybe I don't even know now, maybe like 900,000 views or so. And I was like,
Wow.
wait a minute.
You're like, this is a thing.
Am I funny?
Am I viral?
I was like, my looks aren't going to stay forever, but I can talk for a long time.
Wow.
So yeah, so that was kind of the first one. And then I'm very organized in my head. So it kind of became, okay, how can you, I think the thing that a lot of people don't think about and a lot of people don't really talk about with social media is being creative is very hard. And especially when you have a blank canvas in front of you of like, okay, what should I do?
Overwhelming.
Yeah, it is super overwhelming. And so I always had to kind of have a concept. And so as I got more into it, what I would start to do was like, okay, this is my idea that I have in my head, whether that's like teachers, high school versus college. So making fun of like how high school teachers are like, oh, you're 2 minutes late. That's not going to fly in college. And then like in college, there's like 80 of you and they don't even take attendance.
Right.
Like very that. And so like, okay, like I can make a lot of jokes about this. So I'm going to create a concept for it where it's like, here's your high school teacher. And then it flashes to your college teacher. And there's a contrast to what they're saying. And then if it does well, I can make part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6 of this until, I think I'm at like part 40 of that one. I mean,
it works.
Woo, it works. And so that's kind of the way that brainstorming was really like approachable for me, to kind of put it in that bubble. Cause I think nobody really talks about that with like how you come up with the content. I think people ask, but like, it's very structured for me and it has to be. And I attribute that to a lot of my success because I think a lot of people don't realize like with social media, it's not always about putting out the best product. It's about putting out a good product fast. Because if you spend 10 hours on a video and it gets, not the views you were expecting, let's say like a couple thousand views, a couple hundred views, you're going to really feel very defeated. But if you just are like, oh my God, wait, this is kind of funny. I'll make a little video. I'll put it out. I try to spend no more than an hour and a half per video. And that's like from brainstorming to pressing post.
Yeah.
And then you don't feel as like committed to it because you didn't spend.
There's got to be a return on the investment. Otherwise you're wasting your time. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that's the hard thing too, is the higher you go, sometimes it just never feels like enough. You're like, that was the thing when I hit 1 million. I remember having this feeling. It was on my birthday, which was so crazy. This was 1 million on TikTok.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And I remember hitting 1 million and I was so excited, of course, because it was like it's such a milestone.
It is.
But I was like, okay, now what? Like I was still working at a restaurant. Like it was kind of like, oh, I have to build a business behind this.
Yeah.
That this is the marketing.
Yeah.
And now I have to have some form of monetization behind it.
So what did you do?
So I I had a brand deal with Trolley gummies, like the gummies, sour gummy worms. Love.
Yeah.
I was like
No.
ecstatic when they reached out.
Yes, I
I was like,
bet.
and so they were like, we want 2 videos. It's the campaign. I'm like, okay. So I quoted them a price. And I was like, wow, if they say yes to this, did I really just make this much money from 2 videos? And then they didn't counter. And I was like, okay, from my little Belmont business classes, I know if they don't counter, that means I way undersold myself.
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, I'm not very good at this side of this, because it's hard to put a price on yourself,
Absolutely. And your time, especially when you're growing. You were kind of like a
especially when you're
baby.
growing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I reached out, I looked up all the social media influencer agencies, and I reached out to, probably 30 or 40. 3 got back to me. I met with each of them. And then my team now at My People Know, give a little shout out. My agent, Michaela, my manager, Michaela, we just so vibed. And she just totally got what I was doing and was like excited for my career and was just knew my content, because some of like one of the meetings I went into, and the person was like watching my videos, like, as we were talking. I was like, you couldn't have taken 5 minutes, 5 minutes before this to just peek
Yeah. Literally
peek at a couple
Google.
of them.
Just
like,
Google.
Just Google, like, and so that, and they're really the reason that I was able to leave the restaurant and start doing full time, was because they were, able to negotiate really good deals with brands, which was so exciting.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay. So hold on. We just covered so much there. What do I want to ask? So like, how long was it when you first started posting to something blowing up, and what was blowing up at first for you?
Yeah. That's such a great question. I think that, I think it depends for everybody. And I would hate to like put a specific like time frame on it, because I would hate for anyone to feel discouraged if like, oh, I didn't blow up after, this amount of time. It's not going to happen, because that's not true at all.
Like some gradual growth before you blew up too, I'm sure, the 5,000 views, 10,000 views.
I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks before I had like one that was like, this many people saw this. Oh my God. Actually, the first one, no, I can actually figure that out in the math of my head. It was 3 weeks, and it was so embarrassing because my first video that like did numbers, I was sitting, it was Easter, and my roommate at the time had on, God, what's the movie? The 10 Commandments, that film. And I remember like they made us watch that in Sunday school, and it's like a hot movie. Like all the guys are shirtless and oily with hairy chests. And like the one, I forget who she is. It's not Cleopatra. I don't remember. I had a bad history teacher in 4th grade. Don't ask me anything.
I don't remember.
But she's like hot. She's like wearing bikinis, and like it's a hot movie. And so I was like sitting there, and I just like zoomed in on the TV, and I just like very monotone was like, they showed me this movie in Sunday school. Why did they think I wasn't going to turn out homo? And it was like zooming in on a hairy chest. And like,
I love it.
Yes. And I remember seeing it, like the views rack up, and being so mad. I was like, why is my face not in this video? This is so dumb.
You know what's funny is I think I've heard that from other like social media people and even in music, but it's always the thing that you never wanted it to be, or the thing you never expected.
Right. Totally.
So hot, naked, hairy guys. Sorry.
I know. Sorry. But that was kind of
it took off pretty quick, really.
Yeah, it did. And then I kind of refined, right? And that's when I kind of started my formula of like, okay, like conceptualize, put it, because you can't really recreate that video. I mean, I guess you could like, but I don't know. That wasn't also, it's kind of choosing what you want your brand to be, right? And like that wasn't really what I wanted my brand to be.
Sure. But it's good proof of concept. I'm funny and I know it can take off.
Yeah, it was. And it kind of had that nostalgia, which is something I really focus on now too, of like, they showed me this as a kid. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Well, at that moment, did you think like I could be a TikToker, like I could make money, or were you just kind of bored?
Yeah, no, that's so fun. I always like, I kind of hate the narrative of people being like, I never expected this to happen. Like it was always like in the back of my mind of like, if this works out, this would be great. And I studied social media in school, and kind of, it was so different then. And to look at the like timeline and how quickly it's all changed is so interesting, but like
Yeah.
like Rebecca Black, for instance, like
Right.
like building a music career off of that. And you see, you've seen a couple. Justin Bieber has that narrative of like starting on YouTube, and
Right.
there's definitely like social media has built careers. And I think it's
Absolutely.
so interesting how we always had gatekeepers before for pretty much any entertainment career. The
Right.
label had to say yes to you.
Yeah.
The movie studio had to say yes to you. You had to get the part in the audition. But social media kind of took that away.
Yeah.
And said, you can build your own fan base. You don't need the marketing dollars and the radio play and this and that. You can find people that love what you do.
Yep.
But at the cost of that is that everyone else can do that too. So you're competing with everyone that wants to do it, but you don't need somebody to say yes to your vision. Because not to like, but time and time again in music, you see an artist and the business side kind of fighting over the creative vision. Yeah. And the business wanting it to be marketable and radio friendly or this or that, and the artist having a clear vision of creativity. And sometimes that finds a synthesis that is very successful. And sometimes I think the business kills the creative vision. And sometimes the creativity says, listen, if you want me, you're getting it my way or you're not getting it at all. And we've seen that be really successful too. And so it just kind of depends what to do. But it's interesting how you can kind of take that business side away for a second and build something on social media.
Well, tell me, do you agree that the whole era that we live in, the era of the influencer and blowing up on your own, I mean, it's got its good, it's got its bad, the pros and the cons. I think, would you agree with like, you get out of it what you put into it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because I think it's a lot about being smart than it is about the hours that you put into something.
Smarter, not harder. All right.
Listen, okay. Did I use that in a corporate interview? I'll never tell. Did the words work hard, play hard, leave my mouth? And part of my soul died. Like it was a freaking a Harry Potter, like splitting part of my soul. Oh. It did. Okay. We all have done something we're not proud of. And mine is saying work hard, play hard.
I'm going to send you a t-shirt now.
Please. I think I might just show up to some like corporate brunch in the park and just like pretend, oh yeah, I work in IT. It's been work from home. They'll never know. But yeah, I think it's hard because there's no, and that's what's so fascinating about it is this is entertainment in general, is there's no like, it's frustrating, but there's no, here are the steps. If you check these boxes, you will be successful. Like that's just not how it works. Sometimes it's, sometimes it's not the right side of what you're doing that really resonates with an audience. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's that, we already have a blonde haired country singing superstar right now. And, all of those things, affect it. And so I think the biggest part, and I think if you want to be successful, I think the biggest thing that you have to do is experiment. And I think you have to try different things. And I think that you have to stay true to yourself, of course, but we're very multifaceted. Like staying true to yourself doesn't have to be like this tiny little, tiny little thing. And, you might find out that something you never expected would be your thing or would be what people know you for would be. I mean, there's tons of times where artists are like, this song was so dumb and it did, and, we just thought, whatever, we'll put it out. And then it blew up.
That's right. It's back to the whole, it's always what you think it's not going to be. Your silliest video that you never thought.
Right.
The one that's going to,
And I think that's too partly because there's no pressure. You're not putting pressure on yourself about it. You're not overthinking it. It's just like an authentic expression of you.
Yeah.
And I think
for some reason the universe picks up on it and
right.
Like, all right, you're not going to see this coming. So here you go.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, you just blew up on YouTube this week.
Oh my, why did you do a deep dive or did you?
I Googled 3 minutes before the meeting. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, make it 5 and you're golden.
Tell us all about that.
Yeah. Well, I have to I hate to be gassing up Hollyana here, but I know she was on the podcast earlier. I listened to her episode, big fan.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
love her. And yeah, I did my research too, don't worry. And she was like, kept telling me like, listen, you've got to post on YouTube Shorts, you've got to do it. And then seeing her success, I think she just hit 200,000 this week, which is
unreal.
And
for context, for anyone watching, in January she had 4,000, and it is now April. She has 200,000. It's insane
exponential growth. And so I saw what was happening with her. I was, obviously so excited for my friend. But I was posting on YouTube and nothing was happening. And I was like, I know these are good videos, like, because they had performed well on multiple platforms. And I was like, maybe they just haven't found the audience. Maybe YouTube doesn't trust me enough. They're like, we need at least 3 months of you really giving this your all. Yeah. I don't know. But all of a sudden, like, I woke up one day and I was like, why do I have 1,000 new subscribers? And then I like looked. A glitch. I was like, yeah, did they put the wrong money in my account? Because
I'll take it. But
I'll take it. I'll spend it before they can take it back. And then I just started looking and refreshing, and then like multiple videos were popping, and then it was like, I think I have like 4 or 5 now that are all 1 million plus shorts on YouTube, which is crazy, especially for like, I already have the videos. Like, it's just putting them somewhere else. I just spend like an hour a night putting them on other platforms now.
And I guess I should give context too for anyone. So in case anybody watching this doesn't know, TikTok started like the short form content, then Instagram followed with Reels. Now YouTube is doing shorts. So it's literally like the same idea. It's just he's copying and pasting his viral TikToks onto YouTube, and they have taken off.
Yes. Yeah. And Pinterest does their own too. Facebook is doing their own. Like, it's very like everyone's. It's cool because TikTok really has changed social media.
Yeah.
And how, how we consume content, how it's delivered to us. Yeah. But it's, it's so interesting, the pros and the cons of that as anything, because I think it's harder now to build a fan base, people that, know who you are. I get a lot. I'll go out, to see Biddies, to see Muffy Tuffy. I'll be like at the bar, whatever. And people will be like, did we go to high school together? And I'm like, are you from Ohio? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I know where you've seen me before, but I don't want to say.
Are you just like, I just have one of those faces?
Sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll just be like, I guess I just look like, or I'll say I get Billy Eichner a lot, the Billy on the Street guy.
Oh yeah,
I get that a lot.
Okay.
So I'll say like, oh, you probably thought it was Billy Eichner, or they'll kind of figure like, oh, do you like social media or something? And I'll be like, yeah, whatever. And then I'll quote one of my videos. So I'm so cringy. So you heard it here first, folks. So I'll be like, these are things I thought were cheap. This kid was shocked to find out they're incredibly, and they'll be like, oh my God.
Can we get a selfie?
Can we get a? Okay, I eat that up though.
I'm like, sure. I was gonna say,
please. This is my 15 minutes. Who knows? Like, please.
Paparazzi everywhere.
One day.
So glamorous. I don't even remember what we were talking, how we got there, but
fan bases. Wait, that's kind of good.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that. I always do this. I love a ram. I'm population 1 in Rambletown.
Well, there's 2. I'm here too.
I think that's the thing about, okay, so you had, I wish I was like that research where I could tell you like the waves of social media, but you have like, let's go all the way back to like Fred. If you're familiar with Lucas Cruikshank, who did like the chipmunk voice on his videos and was like, hey, everybody, it's Fred. And you kind of had these people that would come up. You have Troye Sivan, you have Miranda Sings. You have these people that came up doing characters or doing lifestyle or whatever, but you like sought them out. Yeah. Like you searched for their video. You knew it went up on Thursday, whatever, how you found them. But you knew who they were and knew their name and knew a lot about their story. But the way that content is delivered to you now, people might enjoy the content, but they might not, realize who you are or realize that it's the same person. Because we've kind of, I think the branding is you have to work a lot harder at it than when it came
Sure.
a little bit more.
I wonder how many
synonymous before.
times someone has to see your video before they hit follow.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wish I had those analytics.
I mean, I'm
That would
just
be very
wondering out
helpful.
loud because I'm not an influencer, but I wonder, like, so for somebody who makes multiple TikToks a day or something like that, how many
Yeah.
times does someone see your face before they actually think, I'm going to go to this page and hit follow?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is I've worked, I mean, I don't want to say I worked hard. I just stole the idea from somebody else. But I saw there's this TikToker I love. Her name's Rich Caroline. And she's so funny. She does these like comedy skits where she's pretending to be this rich girl, over the top rich girl attitude, but she has all these very quippy like lines where she's like she's like, never be someone's accessory unless it's to murder, and like she's so funny. But she would link her videos by responding to her own comment, so it's kind of like, it's very nitty gritty like TikTok to explain, but like basically you would see her video, and then in the caption you could click on it and it would take you to another one of her videos.
Clever.
And so and then the old one, if you were seeing one of the old ones, you would look in the comments and one of the first comments would be the next video.
Yeah.
So if you were like, oh, this is so funny, oh, there's another one, oh, I'll watch that one, and you kind of would get, I think that was a really good way to capture an audience. And I think that's a reason I had a high conversion rate. Was because I started doing that with like, oh, this is things everybody said in their elementary school playground, part 1, part 2, and then they knew that there was more. And it kind of subconsciously tells them to look at more.
Totally. Do you think, speaking of conversion, do you think that your TikTok following, you said you already kind of had an Instagram following before TikTok blew up, but did any of your followers transfer to like Instagram or Facebook, or do you think they kind of stay on the platform?
Yeah. Cross-platform migration is one of the hardest things. Like, it's so hard to get people to go from one platform to another, especially if there's not anything different there. You know, it's like, okay, if it's the same videos, I'm watching them here, why would I watch them somewhere else? But I definitely think, and this is for anybody. This is for music. This is for acting. This is for lifestyle. This is for influencers. You have to have that 1% of people that like ride for you and love you and like will be, change their profile picture on Twitter to your single cover and will be like telling all their friends about it and posting about it. You have to be very conscious about, spending time with those people, meeting them, even if it's over the internet, even if it's a quick DM, even if it's a quick, like, thanks so much for sharing. That stuff means so much to somebody that's a fan of you. Like, think of like if you had an artist that you were, kind of an underground fan of, like before they were mega, like I have a couple of those that I've screenshotted and been like, you're never going to believe who, who responded to my comment or whatever. And I think nurturing that group is kind of what drives, the success later on.
We are all fans first. We all start out as fans. We are all still fans secretly, even when we're projecting that we are the stars. We are fans first.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, man. Okay, so you kind of brought up music. What are you doing with music these days?
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet for asking. So I think that was to go back to kind of the where I was figuring out how to monetize. I was like, okay, how am I going to do that? And so I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of wonderful brands that I've worked with that enjoy working with me, which is great. But that is like, okay, if that rug gets pulled out, what am I going to do? So I've been working on a couple projects as far as kind of to build out, I call it like building the Disneyland. So like you have your Magic Castle, the thing that people know you for. And then like you've got your Tomorrowland. What's that look like? And what does your Fantasyland look like? And so one of the things I've been working on, a little music project I'm very excited about. I don't want to give too much away, but I think music it's where I started entertainment. It's what really got me interested in entertainment. And it's kind of the thing that I like looked at and I said, okay, if this all goes away, if your accounts all get deleted tomorrow, you would be very sad that you didn't use this opportunity to put out some music. And so I was like, I have to do it. And I think music is something that's so cool because people come back to it the way that they don't come back to a social media video. People make memories with your song. you know, it becomes a part of their life. And I was just thinking about the other day, a song came on my like shuffle, and I was like, oh my God, I remember listening to this song like when I was working at the restaurant, and I would steal a little lemonade from the restaurant and bring it home and watch Big Brother. Like, and you just like, it's so funny that listening to that song come up can bring you back into that world. And so, and that's something that like, you don't really do with like a short form video or a comedy video.
That's such a great observation. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
because you're bringing people joy, but you're right. The longevity is not there.
Yeah. And it's just bringing people, you know, bringing people joy in different ways, or bringing people comfort through a ballad, or, you know, there's so many things. So yeah, so it's definitely kind of finding its shape. It's kind of a project that I've had in my mind for quite a while. It's definitely very nostalgic. In kind of where it lives and where it sits, but I'm excited to have, you know, I'll spill a little bit, but me and Holly got together and we co-wrote a song that I love. I hope it, I hope as I get them all together, get the songs together, see what they all end up being. It's one that I really love what we put together. It's called Postcards.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so cute. So that's all I'm gonna tell you.
We got the exclusive here on Jammin and Jammies, guys. That's so exciting. Okay, well, you have to keep us apprised of everything happening.
I will. But I also like every day I go on a live stream. I do live streams 3 days a week on TikTok. It like is very hard for me not to just like leak everything that I'm working on.
Oh,
because
I'm sure.
Creatives, we get so excited about, and that's
when it's new. You're like, I want to share it. Yeah.
I know. We're like dying to share it, each little part of it. So, if you go on my live stream and you bait me enough, I'll probably end up singing part of it for you.
You'll probably just have to ask him one time, but
it's pretty much it. So
okay, so a couple more questions. I wish we had all day because I could talk to you. I feel like all day. Okay, a couple more questions. One, what is your ultimate dream? Because you're doing music, you're funny, you're an actor. Like, what do you want to do at the end of the day? What does your biography look like?
Thank you so much for all those compliments. I think it's cool now that I think back in the day, you were kind of stuck as a creative, right? And we saw like a couple people popping off. You had like a Whitney Houston who did like a Bodyguard, and like, you had a couple people that would kind of cross entertainment platforms. And I think that's kind of been stripped away in a lot of ways, where it's not as groundbreaking for like, Addison Rae did He's All That on Netflix, and then she's got music coming out. And I think there's somebody that I really love. Her name's Trixie Mattel. She's a drag artist. She was on RuPaul's Drag Race and had a kind of like, she would tell you this, but like a mediocre run. Like she went home like pretty early. She got to come back, but like nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But just using that little attention to really like build a career off of, which I thought was so cool. And she has her own makeup company now, and she's on tour right now, and she has music. And so that's kind of, I've always looked at her career. I've looked at Troye Sivan's career as really like the sky's the limit with this stuff. And so music's really important to me. I would love to do some acting. I would love to put out, I've like toyed around with the idea of putting out a kid's book. I think that would be super fun. So there's like, I don't know, it's cool. The sky's the limit. And I think we have these new type of like internet personalities, internet celebrities that are able to, don't have to choose, one lane. And I really love that. But everything feels like very like in the brand too. Cause if you're, you can be
it's you.
It's me. Yeah.
It's amazing. It is a really magical time right now. I mean, our grandparents had to have jobs, and and now, not that it's not hard work, but
now we're just living off their money.
Now, we're living in their basements because of gas prices. No, exactly. And inflation. It's terrible. No, but really, I mean, yes, everything's expensive. Life is hard. But to be able to have the opportunity to make a living, making content and being creative and being funny and making music, what a beautiful life.
It's so cool. And it's so cool, like the way that all those barriers have been stripped, where you really can post a video of yourself singing, and, that can blow up, and that can, and can make a career. And it's, it's so, they always say, oh, it's so cheesy, but they're like, one video could change your life. But
True. Just
in
like
a
in
way, it's very
Nashville,
true.
they say it's one song. It's just
Yeah,
one song that'll change your life. It's so true.
it's true. I think the thing that, and I've read this a lot from songwriters too, is that yes, one song can change your life, but you're also writing a song every day or every other
Yeah.
day,
Oh,
or
yeah.
it
Right.
is, and it's I film a video a day, and
Sure.
it's kind of integrating that into your life of having that moment for creativity every day and working on your craft every day. I think that's the
Yeah.
best way to do it.
You still have to put in your 10,000 hours. There's no
You
way
still,
around that.
I
But
just
there's so much
beat it up.
beauty and inspiration in the 10,000. I mean, I feel like I've put in 100,000 hours, but
Right.
it's the climb, y'all.
Listen, if there's one thing that Miley Cyrus told us, it's that it's the climb.
And there's a party in the USA.
I love that song.
I love Miley. Okay,
Me
and
too.
then we're gonna leave people with any words of wisdom. All these people that are watching right now that are like, I want 1 million followers, or I want to put out a music project, and maybe they're struggling a little bit. It's been a really rough couple of years. Do you have any words of wisdom for someone whose videos aren't popping off on YouTube yet?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say don't put so much pressure on yourself. Have fun.
Yeah.
Be yourself. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And I think and I think a lot of times it's the fear of putting yourself out there in the right way. I think we're all such the main character of our own story, right? Which is so great.
Right.
But let that go for a little bit and realize that like your high school bullies are not going to see this video. And if they do, and if they care about it, that shows a lot more about them than it shows about you for having a good time and putting something out there.
Yeah.
So just do it.
Just do it. This is sponsored by Nike.
Yeah. I wish. I'll take the free product.
I feel like there's so much we didn't talk about. So I hope you'll come back and we can do a part 2 because
yeah, I would love
just
to.
love
Absolutely.
you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for doing this. Y'all go follow Scott. If you don't, I'm going to put your little stuff right here.
At Scott.Frenzel, because Scott Frenzel was taken on all platforms.
How dare they?
It's such a not common name, but whatever.
The nerve.
The nerve.
Thank you so much, Scott. We'll check in with you again soon.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.